Hey, my beloveds, Demontre Cole here. I just wanted to get on and share with you an essay that I wrote about living in poverty and the justice system and how it can be very unfair to Black Americans. And often, more than so, I feel that the justice system has found a different way to lynch Black people, and that is through the criminal justice system. However, I want to shine light on a woman by the name of Wanda Jean Allen. Many people don't know her. I rarely hear anyone talk about her, but in this particular essay, we had to talk about crime and specific acts of crime that happened within our American history. And people were choosing older crimes and people from the 60s or 80s or whatever, recent crimes as well. I, however, because I am a Black man, I have lived in poverty all of my life. I grew up, I watched my mother struggle, I watched family members struggle, I watched my grandmother struggle. This is often the Black experience. So I wanted to shed light on Wanda Jean Allen today. Wanda Jean Allen was sentenced to death in 1989 for the murder of Gloria Jean Weathers, who was 29 at the time, her longtime girlfriend. Wanda was the first Black woman to be executed in the United States since 1954. She was the sixth woman to be executed since executions resumed here in the United States of America in 1977. Her final appeals and her last 3 months of her life were chronicled by filmmaker Iviana Barros. I hope I'm saying their name correctly. It is a documentary entitled The Execution of Wanda Jean. It was back in 2002. So I encourage you to look up that on YouTube. You can find it on Amazon. I will actually put a link under my bio where you can actually watch this particular story for yourself, and you can see this woman's surroundings, and you can see where she almost basically did not have a chance. But I want to go further into her story. Wanda Jean Allen was born on August 17th, 1959, the second of 8 children. Her mother was an alcoholic and drug user. Her father left home after Wanda's last sibling was born, and the family lived in public housing and scraped by on public assistance. At the age of 12, Wanda was hit by a truck and knocked unconscious. And at the age of 14 or 15, she was stabbed in the left temple. Stabbed in the left temple. It was found that Wanda's actual abilities were marked impaired, and by her IQ was 69, found particularly significant was that the left hemisphere of her brain was completely dysfunctional, impairing her to make simple comprehension, her ability to logically express herself, and her ability to analyze cause and effect, especially within relationships. It was also concluded that Allen was more chronically vulnerable than others to becoming disorganized by everyday stress, and thus more vulnerable to lose a loss of control while under stress. And right now, just reading her story already, it put something in my heart that this woman she didn't have a chance, and she didn't have people around her who were educated enough that really could have helped her. Because that's the thing, you may have a chance often when you have people around you who are well educated, and they can help you and they can help you be exposed. They can allow you to understand, hey, we can find a different way. We can find a different path. But again, I want to continue to go on. By the age 17, she had already dropped out of high school, which I really couldn't blame her because remember, her IQ was 69. She had been stabbed in the temple at the age of 14 and 15. By the age of 12, she had been hit by a truck, literally, and left unconscious. I want to talk about the death. In 1981, Wanda was sharing an apartment with Deborah Pettis, a childhood friend turned girlfriend. On June 29th, 1981, they got an apartment and Wanda shot and killed her girlfriend. In her 1981 confession, Wanda stated that she accidentally shot her girlfriend from when she was about 30 feet away while returning fire from her possible boyfriend, etc. However, the evidence was inconsistent with Wanda's story. In particular, a police expert believed that the bruises and powder burns on Pettis' body indicated that Wanda had pistol whipped her, then shot her at point blank range. Nevertheless, prosecutors cut a deal with Allen and she received a 4-year sentence in exchange for a guilty plea to a manslaughter charge. She served 2 years of the sentence. And Miss Deborah was buried in Trice Hill Cemetery in Oklahoma. And by the way, all of this is going down in Oklahoma. But I want to go back to this. Remember, at 12 years old, she was hit by a truck and knocked unconscious. At 14 or 15, this girl is stabbed in the temple. So already she has lived through 2 life-threatening incidents that pretty much could have killed her, but it left her completely impaired and very dysfunctional, where she couldn't analyze cause and effect, especially within relationships. But I want to particularly read this about her partner, Gloria Jean Leathers, in which she had been sentenced to death and executed because of this particular murder. 7 years later, after the death of Deborah Pettis, Wanda was living with her girlfriend, Gloria Jean Leathers. The two met in prison and had a turbulent and very violent relationship. Right there, this girl cannot communicate on a day-to-day basis. She can't express her feelings the way that normal people who have a reasonable IQ can express their feelings. So let's go back to, again, she's been hit by a truck, left unconscious. 14 or 15, stabbed in the brain, in the temple pretty much, with a knife. She can't communicate. On December 12, 1988, Wanda's girlfriend at the time, who was 29, was shot in front of the village police department in Oklahoma City. 15 minutes before the shooting, the 2 women were involved in a dispute at the grocery store. A city officer escorted the 2 women to their houses and stood by while Leathers collected her belongings. Before Leathers left the house, Wanda asked her to stay and attempt to work out their difficulties in their relationships. When Allen followed Leathers to the car, Leathers grabbed a garden rake and struck Allen in her face with the tool. Okay, right there. Remember, she can't function. So right there, she's already in heated back and forth arguments. Now she's being struck in the face with a garden rake and hit in the face with a tool. Okay, let's go back here. Leathers and her mother left and drove to file a complaint against Wanda. Wanda followed them, claiming that she was trying to get Leathers not to leave her. When Alan approached Leathers in the parking lot, she saw Leathers still had the rake in her hand. Eventually, Alan returned to her car, grabbed a gun, and then, when she saw Leathers closely approaching, fired one shot that severely wounded Leathers. Leathers' mother witnessed the shooting. Two police officers and a dispatcher heard the shot fired, but no police department employee witnessed the actual shooting. The police recovered a .38 caliber handgun they believe was used in the shooting near the woman's home. Leathers died from her injuries, unfortunately, 3 days later on December 5th, 1988. And she was later buried in Green Acres Memorial Garden Cemetery in Tulsa City, Oklahoma. I mean, this entire story, it just, for me, it doesn't have a happy ending. I mean, considering what this girl went through as a child, like, I have empathy, I have sympathy for people. So I'm thinking she's being raised by a drug addict and an alcoholic. Then, no father around. Oftentimes, fathers give that structure that the households need. Mothers are the providers. They're nurturing, they're warming. They keep the house together. They keep those beautiful melodies flowing through the home. And men, we often keep the discipline. We keep that structure going. So she has none of this. And she has an alcoholic mother who's very much consistently using drugs. I don't even want to know what that's like. I don't have that experience. But it is just interesting that no one felt to weep for this lady. No one felt that she possibly needed to be on medication. She possibly had to have more tests done to understand how could she go and live supervised in the world where she could make better decisions, where she could make good choices. But I want to talk about the trial right now. The state charged Allen with first-degree murder and announced that they would seek the death penalty, as those motherfuckers always are. Evidence that Leathers had a history of violent conduct and that she had stabbed a woman to death in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1979 was central to the self-defense argument of Allen's trial. Now already, these are two women who have both lived very rough lives. I'm almost certain her partner was same thing, armed poverty, government assistance. They both have violent histories. Remember, her girlfriend had already stabbed a woman and killed. So it's just consistent back and forth, not healthy at all. Nothing nurturing about the relationship. Wanda testified that she feared Leathers because she had boasted to her about the killing. She basically told her, yeah, I killed somebody. I'm big, and I'm tough. The defense sought to corroborate this claim with the testimony from Leathers' mother, who Leathers had told about the stabbing. However, the prosecution objected, and the court prohibited the introduction of such testimony because it was considered hearsay. Damn. The prosecutor depicted Allen as a remorseless liar. The jury found her guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced her to death. During the punishment phrase, the prosecutors argued that Allen should be sentenced to death because she had been previously convicted of a felony involving the use or threat of violence, that she was a continuing threat to society, and she committed the murder to avoid arrest or prosecution. The jury found that the first two aggravating circumstances existed in Allen's case. Her defense presented they had presented numerous circumstances, including good relationship with her family, good work habits, and her fear of the victim. In the sentencing phase, the prosecution presented testimony on the circumstances of the death of Deborah Pettis and compared this previous crime to the death of Leathers. It ain't right, man. It just ain't right. Like, she's not getting a chance here. She's not getting any chance, man. It's not right. I want to go back to her execution. I want to go on her execution. She was executed by lethal injection by the state of Oklahoma on Thursday, January 11th, 2001, at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. And McAllister, 24 relatives of murder victim Gloria Leathers and manslaughter victim Deborah Pettis traveled there for the execution. Many of them watched the execution from behind a tinted window. While lying on the execution gurney, Allen said, "Father, forgive me." "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." She had struck her tongue out and smiled at her appeal lawyer, David Preston, who had become her friend. He says she was dancing on the mattress while they tried to kill her. She was pronounced dead at 9:21 p.m. Relatives of Leathers expressed the execution gave them closure. Wanda was buried at Trice Hill Cemetery in Oklahoma City. That really made me emotional. But I want to read this essay that I wrote entitled Wanda Jean Allen, A Tragic Tale of Poverty, a Biased Justice System, and the Struggle of Living on Public Assistance. Living in poverty is the reality that countless individuals around the world face daily. For marginalized communities such as African Americans, the barriers to escaping poverty are often more substantial due to systematic disadvantages embedded within society. Wanda Jean Allen, an African American woman who faced these challenges, serves as a chilling example of the unjust experiences that some people endure simply because of their race and economic circumstances. Her story unveils the difficulties faced by those living in poverty, the racial bias presented in the justice system, and the relentless on public assistance as a means of survival. Wanda Jean Allen, again, she grew up in poverty in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where financial struggle was the norm for her family. Poverty, which includes a lack of access to basic necessities such as food and shelter, health care, is a pervasive issue that affects millions of individuals around the globe. For African Americans in particular, poverty rates that historically been higher due to systematic racism, diminished employment opportunities, and limited access to quality education. Despite the obstacles she faced, Wanda Jean Allen was determined to rise above her circumstances. However, Living in poverty made it extremely challenging for her to achieve financial stability. Poverty not only limited her access to resources and opportunities, but also had a profound impact on her mental and emotional well being. Consistently worrying about how to make ends meet takes a significant toll on the individual, often leaving them feeling trapped and hopeless. Additionally, Wanda Jean's experience highlights the persistent bias and prejudice treatment that African Americans consistently face on a daily basis. Within the criminal justice system, research had repeatedly shown that black individuals are more likely to be arrested, convicted, and sentenced to longer prison terms compared to their white counterparts for similar offenses. This inherent bias within the justice system deprives African Americans of a fair trial, ensuring that it remains confined to the state of a disadvantage. Wanda Jean's own struggle with the justice system showcases the harsh realities that black people consistently endure. In 1981, again, I said earlier, she had been convicted of the shooting and killing of her girlfriend, Gloria Leathers, during an argument. Despite Allen's claims of self-defense, she was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. This case symbolizes the system's bias that still exists to this day. As Wanda Jean Allen's life was shattered due to a lack of understanding within the legal framework. For individuals like Wanda Jean, public assistance often becomes a lifeline in times of dire need. Public assistance programs provide crucial support for those living in poverty, offering access to basic necessities and helping to elevate some of the burdens they face. However, the relentless on public assistance can offer a cycle of poverty as individuals struggle to secure stable employment or escape the clutches of financial hardship. Wanda Jean's inability to break free from poverty ultimately led to her reliance on public assistance even after her release from prison. The difficulties faced by individuals who rely on public assistance to survive extend far beyond financial needs. The stigma associated with receiving aid can be emotionally challenging and a cycle of poverty that can be challenging and very hard to overcome. She didn't have a chance, man. In conclusion, Wanda Jean Allen's tragic tale sheds light on the challenges experienced by those living in poverty, the racial bias engaged within the justice system, and the reliance on public assistance. Her story serves as a reminder of the urgent need for social change as we strive for a more understanding world, for a more equitable world, free from poverty and racial injustice. Efforts must be made, to address systematic bias and discrimination within the criminal justice system, provide improved access to resources and opportunities for marginalized communities, and create an inclusive society that supports individuals in their quest for a better life. Again, I wanted to share this story of Wanda Jean Allen. And it just sucks, man, because oftentimes we don't get a chance, man. We don't get these opportunities, and like, what is there to come out of it? If you've been brought up in poverty, as she was, hit by a truck at the age of 12 and stabbed in her temple at the age of 15, we don't get a chance. The justice system, and then when you're living in poverty, here's the thing, they don't give you the resources to get to the next level. They just give you the resources to stay, those basic resources, and you can't go out and get a better job. You can't go out and get better things, because in order to qualify, you gotta be at that lower level. I just wanted to share this with you guys. Take time. Again, I'm going to attach my essay, also attach the link in the bio to where you can watch the film entitled The Execution of Wanda Jean. Again, I am Demontre Cole. These videos that I'm going to be making are raw, no edit, all of that. I need to work on my communication skills. I have a very, hard stutter, things like that. I'm still working with my reading and comprehension skills are getting better daily by daily. But I tell people, because I have PTSD and I have ADHD, it takes me some time to kind of navigate and learn things. But I'm going to be making these videos consistently because I really want to continue to educate people and share information. So again, thank you for joining me. My name is Demontre Cole. And again, we wanted to highlight Wanda Jean Allen. Blessings, beloved.